Welcome back to another episode of Modular Wild. I am Raul. Today we're going to be looking at the RF Nomad in a slightly different light. If you followed up in the last couple of videos that I did on this particular module, you saw kind of a basic demonstration of its uses as a voltage-controlled shortwave radio receiver. But it's also good for other things. I demonstrated a small amount of them in the last demo, the one with the text on it that didn't have any actual speaking. But I thought we would take a little bit of a different route and look at a full-fledged sort of percussion demo where you can use this as your sort of, or close to sole source for different kinds of percussion sounds. Now, in order to do this, I did have to kind of extend sort of my reach a little bit. So let me show you around here. This is my camera 1 that we're on right now, and it's going to be camera 2 up here. This is camera 3, camera 4, and camera 5. Now, if I don't get the numbers right, because I probably won't refer to them, I'll just say, you know, the 808 cam, or I'll say the VCA matrix cam, or the noise ring cam as we're moving along. Don't hold that against me. But basically, I just got some pretty interesting results using this as a source for percussion sounds. Like normally, you can use white noise for something like that. But in general, if you were to sort of multiply that sound and then feed it to different places, like 2 VCAs or something like that, your sounds wouldn't necessarily be different color tones. So I'm going to show you a little thing that I did that kind of gave it a little bit different flavor than what you'd get with a normal white noise source. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the audio out from our RF Nomad. And I'm going to be using stack cables just in case I need to multiply this. So I'm going to take this output here. And then just so you can hear it, this is what I got so far. Okay, so basic sound. And then if I tune it, you know, you have your basic RF Nomad. Getting into some very strange heterodynes and squealy and, you know, duck talking and all that kind of good stuff. But I'm going to use this to actually feed this VCA right here. So going in the top input of that VCA, and then I'm actually going to go into the bottom input of that VCA as well. So this Optomix right here has 2 VCAs, top one, bottom one. And I'm just going into each input. There we go. And then I'm going to take those 2 outputs, and I'm going to bring them into our mixer, which is, let's see, 2 modules over, the green one here. So I'm taking output here, and then going over here. We might get some sound. Let's see. Oh, this one's all the way down. So there's a little bit of sound. So I'm not actually triggering it with anything yet. And output. And then go into another percussive element. There we go. So these are going to be our 2 percussive elements right there. Now, in order to sort of use that same source, but then also vary it a little bit, I'm going to be using, if we go up to the top section, where the noise ring is, I'm going to be using the noise ring for a clock to sort of trigger a few gates via the rotating clock divider, which is 2 modules over. So this is going to be generating a clock. That way I can just control it by turning it faster or lower as we're creating our percussion sounds. So I'm going to take clock out here. I'm using another stack cable. That way in case I want to take that clock somewhere else, I can. So patching into here, and now I have sort of all the divisions of these going, you know, 1 divided by 2, divided by 3, divided by 4. If you've never used this before, pretty cool module. Pretty straightforward as well, but it can do some crazy stuff too if you want it to. Right now we have it feeding a clock right there that you can see kind of a flashing light indicating the rate of the clock that's incoming. And then each one of these outputs is actually dividing it by whatever that number is. So divided by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there you go. And we're going to be using those gates to trigger a couple of envelopes here in a moment. So let me go to, let's see, I had a few notes. I think it was 6. Give me 1 sec. Sorry about that. Okay. So I just made a couple of notes because it was kind of a complex patch and it sounded pretty cool. So the Division 6, and we may switch this up. This isn't going to be fixed or anything, but this is going to give us a good starting point. So I'm taking the divide by 6 output, and I'm going to feed that over into my emulator over here. So right up there. And then now this is being triggered. You can see kind of a light going on over there. And then now I need to take that output from the emulator and take it over to my VCA, or one of them anyway. So let me just do the top one. So not too interesting yet. We just have a basic kind of, and we can actually just hear that one all by itself. Let me just figure out, okay, that's that one. Let me turn the other one down. So that's what we have so far. And now let's get the other gate going too. The divide by 4 up here at our rotating clock divider, I'm going to use to trigger this Pittsburgh ADSR down here. Where is it? There it is. Okay. One of my favorite ADSRs, because it has a nice little low profile right there. Okay, so now that one's triggering our second envelope. And I'm going to take that output and I'm going to feed it to our second VCA channel over there. So let me just take output ADSR right there, go to our second channel of our VCA, and then let me turn that back up. Just find where that's plugged in. There we go. Okay, so we have some basic nice little percussive elements. Now to sort of keep it sort of interesting and sort of moving along as well, what I was doing just for myself, just so I could do a little sort of grooving, is I kind of took one of these divider outputs over here and used it with the 808 module over here. And this is really the only standard type drum sound that we're going to be using in this patch, so here we go. And I don't think that's the division that I had before, but I might change it up just so it's more like, that's kind of an odd division. Let's try this one. Yeah, that works. Or we can also do this, just take that out, do the 4. So hopefully you get what I just did right there. Basically I'm using the divide by 4 division to trigger the kick drum, so that's the green light indicating that it's going off right there. But I'm also taking that same gate output and going down to our Pittsburgh ADSR right there. But this one is actually triggering the VCA sound that's over here, the lower channel of our Optimix. So that right there is, in a nutshell, the basic patch that I set up. Now, I did take it a little bit further because I wanted to do something a little more interesting, because right now the percussion sound is sort of static. Now, I can go in and sort of make adjustments to my percussion sound. And essentially right now, I'm just kind of using it as a functional pitch noise source. Even though, you know, you may get actually a shortwave radio station come in periodically. So what I did was I actually set up a patch where I had one of my divisions here. I can't recall which, so let's just choose one. Let's try divide by... Let's try this one, divide by 3. And I actually routed this, divide by 3, over into the Modseek. So this is actually outputting a bunch of different CVs. So this is kind of like a step CV sequencer used for modulation. And then I'm going to take these CVs. Maybe you've already figured out what I'm going to do with it. Take the CV output right there, and then just go down into the CV input of our RF Nomad. So then I get kind of a nice sort of evolving type percussion sound. I can bring my CV input up if I want to just vary it a little bit, and then I can adjust my tuning. That's a nice little area there. You can get a lot of different types of, pings, pops, standard noise sounds that you would normally get from a white noise source. But I even got some kind of intermittent cowbell type sounds, which are kind of nice as a percussive element. And so this is just kind of the starting point. Now, if I wanted to sort of go a little bit further with it, which is what I did as well, I could take, let's see, how did I set this up? I could take these same CVs. I'm going to start with this one. Take that CV out, and then feed this back to the RF Nomad. But now I'm going to take this and go somewhere else. Like, let's go over to our oscillator 2, which is over here. Let me see if I can create sort of maybe a little melody line. Now, if I had a quantizer somewhere in here, that would actually be a little more interesting. So let me take let's just do a saw. Nice and full of harmonics. Let's just hear what that sounds like first. I'm going to patch it in here. That's a little bit high, so let me bring it down. Doesn't really go, but that's okay. Let me try something else.